So my name is Singyun Hong, and I'm a second year. I'm majoring in political science and psychology. I don't hold any position in USG currently, and the position that I'm running for is Chief Judicial Officer.
I think this is a very similar question to one that was asked last year as well. USG, or undergraduate student government, should play an important part on campus, and it really doesn't seem like it does since I've been here. And the biggest issue I think we've seen is we don't really take ourselves very seriously. There is not really a solid foundation for engagement. And I think that is a big part of the CGO, is making sure that people are focused on what they're doing, that they're following what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, we are elected representatives. And I think, and I'm not the only person that feels this way, I think I have like the drive and the commitment to kind of push us in that direction. I think it's desperately needed. And I'm up to the plate, as you should say.
So I wanted to be a part of USG for a really long time. I wanted to be a part of an organization that is representative of the student body. And I found that between all of the different positions that were available, Chief Judicial Officer was just the one that resonated the most with me purpose-wise, and also the one that I believe my experiences were the most relevant to. So that's how I chose it.
Yeah, so there's like three major points. The first one is just general operational structure, whether that's maintaining attendance, any sort of legislative processes, or anything that is written that needs to be followed as part of the regular course of business. The second big one that isn't utilized very often, particularly as of late, is the passage of bills or referendums or any sort of like student body legislation. CJO is in charge of all proceedings regarding to that, and is in charge of the final vote for those as well. And the third big one that CJO is responsible for, and this is semi-recent that we've tweaked this, is in charge of auditing clubs and auditing members as well through the Judicial Board. I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question?
Second part was, what aspect do you think is the most important part of the role?
I would say as we've worked more with the Finance Committee to kind of get this into play, I would say it was a mix between trying to get more focused on making sure clubs are utilizing their funds properly and are actually like being productive members of the campus community. They're giving something back to their members. But I also do think, again, back to my earlier comment about how we're not really as engaged as we should be, CGO's role in kind of maintaining professional standards.
So the Chief Judicial Officer is at the head of a larger judicial board. The Chief Judicial Officer is elected by ranked choice vote by the student body, whereas the judicial members are nominated by the president. And the CJO's main job is to ensure that all of the legislation passed is in accordance and is not breaching any of the existing governing documents of USG. This includes the Constitution, this includes the operating bylaws, election bylaws, grants of power. And their job is also to annually review whether these constitutions and documents are actually still applicable or relevant or appropriate to the changing student body.
Another very similar question from last year. So my answer last year was that I didn't really think that there is anything that needs to be changed fundamentally about the Constitution. I really think that the language is there, it's just the adherence isn't there. However, I will tweak my answer this time around and say that, and we've actually worked on this, I think, so far this year, the standards for membership and some of the disciplinary actions we're able to take are not as clear-cut as they should be. And I do think that is somewhat up to the interpretation of whoever is the CJO at the time. but kind of working to create more standards for membership. I've talked to the current VP of Comms about this as well, is actually having more standards for volunteering and being active participants in your community, whether that's engagement in clubs, whether that's actually us as a undergraduate student government body going out into the Cleveland community and being contributing members, putting our name out there. But I do think we need to update some of our membership standards and some of our disciplinary actions.
So that is like a pretty wide-ranging question, but I think for me the most important part is actually ensuring that, for example, the operating bylaws, they haven't been updated, at least according to the website, since 2021, which I believe is indicative of one of two things. Number one, that it's so perfect that it has not required revision in the last 5 years. I think the more realistic alternative is that it hasn't been, I guess, receiving the attention that I believe it should receive. So I want to do like a thorough review of the operating bylaws, as well as revising some of the language used in both the Constitution and the grants of power. So if you'll notice, some of the descriptions of what the CJO does in both of these documents will say the CJO or the Judicial Board will facilitate or will work with this other branch of government. I think that's pretty vague language to use, especially in a governing document, especially if that's applying to all of the undergraduate student body, you know? I think if we revise that specific language, it has like a bigger effect than it would seem, because this allows people to have a more definite understanding of where they can go to with complaints that they want recognized. It helps the documents be more approachable, more understandable to the average person who should be using it to keep the USG in check. So I think that is like the biggest point that I would change about it. I also want to revise some of the issues with probably the membership requirements for clubs getting recognized by USG, because I believe that according to the equity and inclusion laws that are in the governing documents of USG, it's a little bit difficult if there are so many barriers that are stopping students from being able to share their passion with others. And that's part of making like a better student environment here on campus. And overall, I just want to make sure that people have a safe environment where they can speak about issues that they care about, knowing that they are protected by the USG and crew as a whole.
I will say I do not currently sit on the Judicial Board. I will also say that we've had to switch Chief Judicial Officer halfway through the year. Frankly, the role of the Judicial Board has expanded throughout the entirety of this year. So I can't speak on any specific instances. I would say that in general, and you can probably ask any member of the general body in this regard, we've had issues with attendance, we've had issues with people even volunteering for our own events. And we haven't really been able to evenly address that across the board, mostly because if people aren't showing up in the first place, well, us punishing them for one reason or another isn't going to really like improve that. They're not going to suddenly start coming. So we really haven't been able to focus on that a lot. I can't speak to any specific instances. I'm just not aware of any specific ones. If there was a specific one that question was in reference to, I apologize. I just don't know.
So that is a difficult question, because if you notice in the documents how it says that the Judicial Board and the CJO is supposed to go about fixing these issues of non-compliance by other USG members, is that USG members or Judicial Board members will be anonymously reported. And by the way, in the documents, it's not super specific about how that's done. It just says that the Judicial Board has to make some kind of way for anonymous reports to be received. It's not very specific about that. And thereafter, the Judicial Board will actually evaluate whether there has been a breach, and then call for maybe if a recall is required, something like that. I think there are kind of like issues with that, because it is very much in my mind a situation of we did an internal review of ourselves and we found no breach. That is like very easily imaginable situation for me. So I think the most important part for me would be to conduct an investigation as a whole of the Judicial Board, with the Judicial Board, but also possibly an external third party to ensure that we remain truthful to the responsibilities that have been given to these people. And I think that's just how I would go about it. Obviously, the most important facets of this in my role would be to remain impartial. Whether I'm close with these members or not, that's not really a topic of interest to me. I just have to do my job, and part of that job is just being very objective.
Yeah, so I've currently been a member of the Finance Committee for 2 years now. I started as a freshman representative. I'm currently a CSE rep. Within that, my primary focus has been on club policy. So that would be in regards to some of our funding guidelines, our approval guidelines, some of our auditing standards, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty much everything related to becoming and maintaining your status as a club on campus. That has been my subcommittee throughout the last 2 years that I've been here. In addition to that, I'm currently the treasurer for our rowing team, and I have previously been involved as treasurer for the Class Officer Collective for the class of 2028, as well as a former member of the Advocacy Committee in RHA, where I served as a subcommittee chair. Outside of that, I have various other non-leadership experiences in clubs, but in general, I keep in touch with our administration through a lot of different avenues, whether that's meeting with the provost or the VP of Student Affairs, and I just try to keep as involved as I can on campus.
So I actually worked really closely with Municipal Court Judge Kalila Lawson on her campaign. Last November, she was running. She used to be a magistrate judge, and now she's a municipal court judge. And I got to observe her work very closely, and it kind of gave me a better idea of what a judicial role is. Many people will think that it's just sitting at a desk, overviewing documents and things like that, but especially pertaining to USG, that's not really the case. People related to the Judicial Board and the CJO specifically are required to go out like independently and do investigations into whether there have been breach of standards. And another big thing is to just understand the community as a whole. I'm very involved in the case community. I'd like to say I was formerly the public relations chair of the Phi Alpha Delta fraternity here at CASE. I do a lot of public service. I recently received the Wellman Hills grant, which is a grant that's given to people who have a proven commitment to public service. And I think I have like a good understanding of what the student body entails, and especially how it's changing and how I can change the Constitution to better fit, a mobilizing student body.
So to the one other candidate in question, I will say she's never served any time in USG. I've read her LOI. I don't think she fully understands the operational structure of USG, nor really what USG is empowered to do. I think she has a lot of great experiences outside of USG and frankly outside of the university community, but I would say within the university, within even interacting with our administrators, the experience just isn't there. And I will say that's one of the things that is coming up for a vote in this upcoming election is changing some of those standards where you had to have had a membership in USG in order to be an officer. Because we really do think that is important. And again, I think my candidate has a lot of great skills, but I don't think she has enough relevant skills to being within USG and being an executive with USG.
Oh, that's like, I have to be kind of careful about that. I have no doubt that everybody who's applying for this role is qualified in their own sense. I'm just here because I'm confident that I have the qualities that would make me a favorable candidate. It's ultimately up to the student body, but I have experience in working with judicial authorities, outside of this campus. I have worked with a magistrate judge who's now a municipal court judge. My previous professor, he was a federal judge here in Northeast Ohio. I have an understanding of what kind of weight the job entails. I am also pretty involved in the community. Once again, I have experience being a leader before. I run my own political science newspaper as well. I think I'm just kind of like, used to voicing what I believe needs to be voiced without really much like regard for what pressures are upon me. I have the confidence that I'm able to perform in any kind of situation. And I think that's just one thing that sets me apart. You know, I actually don't even know who my other candidate is. I tried not to look too much into it because I just want to focus on what I am bringing to the direction of USG.
I mean, I'll just say, like, and I mentioned this at the very beginning, USG should be like an important part of our campus community. And I feel like since I've gotten here, it has either been treated as a joke or I felt it is kind of a joke. We have periods of activity where everybody's doing stuff, and we have periods of absolutely nothing. I think that we need to get back on track. I think we have a suite of presidential candidates who are looking to try to change that. I really hope whoever wins and whoever runs the executive committee next year is able to do that. But I do think at a fundamental level that all of our membership needs to be much more dedicated towards it. And I hope that in my role as CJO, I can help foster that. That's all I got.
I think it might kind of work against me that I am an external candidate. I'm not like a rerunning member of the USG, but I would like to say that I think that has its own merits. You know, if you'll notice, a lot of members of USG, they tend to run for other offices after serving 1 year in their current position. But when I was looking at all of the roles, the CJ was actually the only one that had a calling to me. So that I think that kind of shows that I have like a very outstanding commitment to the position, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes.